Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to Dr.Monkey, where we laugh together and cry together, but hopefully take something away to treat each other a little better. Here's some interesting stories. One about how EM feels cheated out of her inheritance. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Story 1. Little backstory. I came from a highly dysfunctional family and tried to spend as much time away from them as possible. In the 3rd grade, I met a set of twins that would become lifelong friends, and their family a second to my own. At the head of their family was their grandfather. He was an extremely rough around the edges, no bull given or taken, my way or the highway kind of guy. And the fact that he was half Mexican and half Mescalero Apache didn't help. Every one of us boys at the house was scared to death of him, and no one wanted to go out of town with him to work. When I was 21, I ended up helping him on a job outside Fort Worth, and during this time, we bonded. I called him Pop, and he called me Son. A couple of months after we started the Fort Worth job, Pop received a call that his aunt had passed away. We stayed up having a few drinks, and he told me stories about her until the rooster crowed. He described her to me in the same manner that all of us boys would describe him to others. Now, this woman would drink a 5th of bourbon and smoke 5 cigars every day, till the day she died. But she made it nearly to 100 before she croaked. During the last 20 or so years of her life, the majority of her family had absolutely nothing to do with her, with the exception of one grandson. She had also amassed a nice little spread outside of Waco, having a 100-acre ranch and a large farmhouse and a 7-figure bank account. Pop decided that we should attend the funeral. A few days later, we found ourselves in a small funeral parlor in the craptastic town of Waco. The funeral was going as all funerals go, with some people sobbing, others binge drinking, and most of the kids looking bored. As Pop and I are sitting quietly, minding our own business, we hear this increasingly louder conversation behind us. Enter the cast. EM, grandson's mom, EF 1, 2, and 3, entitled family, most likely the other daughters. GG, the good grandson. EF1, really? Everything? What do you mean, everything? EM, that's what the lawyer said. EF2, she can't do this to us, can she? EF3, there's got to be something that we can do about this. It's his fault she died. If he hadn't provided her with whiskey and cigars all those years, she would still be alive. EM, don't worry. He's my son and will do whatever I say. We'll sell everything and split it evenly between just the 4 of us. It was at this point that Pops caught on to what was being discussed, as I'm sure everyone else around had, and he, being a man not to hold his tongue, lost it. It went something like this. Y'all need to shut y'all's butts. He loved to say that. This woman lived nearly 100 years and all you're gonna do is try and say he killed her? Over what? Money? If you cared so much about her, where were y'all the last 20 years of her life? He didn't do it for money. He did it because it was his grandma, and that was the right thing to do. Before EM and EFs could regain their composure, GG came up, looked at his mom in the eye, and said, "Goodbye, Mom. This is the last time any of y'all will see me again," and simply walked out the door. The last I heard about any of it, GG was enjoying his life out on the ranch and refused to have any contact with his immediate family. I spent about another 6 months traveling with Pops, working construction and learning masonry. He passed about 7 or 8 years back. I miss that man. Even if no one reads this, it felt really nice to talk about Pop. And that's why you put it in your will that you leave that EI, entitled idiot, $1 in nickels. Then they cannot say they were left out of the will. It is made abundantly clear what the will originator thought of them. Go play the slot machines. You'll have better luck. Story 2. I moved to my current home almost 2 years ago. We have a big house and yard and therefore decided to get a big dog because we felt capable of providing him a decent life. His name is Milo, and he just turned 1. Milo was rescued as a puppy. He was abused and neglected before. There's a local animal rescue team that my parents have financially supported for a while, So once we decided to adopt another dog, we got Milo. He was rescued from them, and he has grown into a big and healthy guy since. However, he has his flaws. He can be very anxious towards strangers, especially kids. If a stranger gets too close to him, he will bite. It has gotten better over time, but sometimes he still gets anxious. And again, especially kids, if they're being loud and energetic. So I see it as my responsibility to have a certain control over that in order to not harm anyone, no matter how much he's improved. I was walking him today. My village is pretty small, so we just see a few people passing by. He doesn't get nervous around them anymore, until 3 kids and a woman walk by, seeing them from far away, and one of the kids immediately comes hopping towards my dog, who's already in a defensive position. And I stopped the little boy just in time by being like, "Hey, stop." I tried to be gentle and told him about Milo not liking strangers, and that he can bite. But I told him I have another dog at home who would love to get to know him. The boy was kind of accepting it. I tried to cheer him up by saying, maybe we'll see each other when I'm walking around with my other dog. He's really fluffy and loves to be petted. And everything was cool until another kid came hopping up and my dog backed away. I was just like, "Oh, careful, careful." And the boy pushed that little girl aside. The mom came closer without me even speaking a word. She just said, "Hey, why are you not letting them pet it?" They love dogs. So I politely explained how it is that Milo can be dangerous, even though he may not look like he is. She just shook her head and said something along the lines of, "Well, if he's so dangerous, you shouldn't walk him around the village." I mean, Milo hid behind me, and with an encouraged face after her mom's words, the little girl tried to get close to me, so I said no in a stern voice, and held my dog close to me. That made the girl walk to her mom, the boy slowly following. That EM looked at me as if I had just destroyed her life. She was mad. I decided I was uncomfortable, so I said bye and walked away. She yelled from a distance, "Arrogant POS! You can go somewhere else with your dog instead of abusing my children." So, yeah, I did it, guys. I found the village Karen. You might want to consider a harness that says "please do not pet" or something like that to keep your dog safe from others. But you will still need to deal with the small children. But maybe the parents will see the harness and tell their kids to back off. People should always ask to pet an unknown dog and not just assume it is friendly. Shame on that lady for putting you and your dog in that position. Story 3. To summarize, I have a father who is a very conservative person. He really dislikes tattooed people. My mother is an enabler. In fact, she doesn't care about tattoos, but cares about not bothering or making my dad angry. I wanted to have a tattoo since I was a teenager, but I got my first one only when I was 21, because I didn't want my father to be mad. He didn't talk to me for a month after I got this tattoo. Basically, I spent my entire teens and early 20s trying to gain his approval. But once this fight happened, I really don't care anymore. I've had a few girlfriends before, and they have always matched the beauty standards in my country. Blonde, no tattoos, no dyed hair, etc. This year, everything changed. I started dating this girl I'll call Michelle. She's an amazing and caring person. She has dyed short hair and tattoos all over her body. As you can imagine, my parents weren't happy, especially my father. They disliked her since the beginning and told me that she was not the right one for me. After a few months, this whole situation escalated to a fight. After a nice day drinking in the pool with my mom and my girlfriend, my father joined us and started drinking too. He got drunk and told my girlfriend straight to her face that he doesn't like her and that she'll always be unemployed and never achieve big things in life because of her tattoos. A week after, I returned. I still live in their house because I'm not graduated yet, and housing is very expensive in my country. My plans are to move out in March of 2023. That's when I'll graduate. I decided to travel this New Year's Eve, and I'm not back home yet. To my surprise, this morning I woke up with a text message from my uncle, my father's brother. It's funny how people who don't live in the same household as me and don't have to interact daily with my parents think they know something about my life. Here's the message. Good morning and Happy New Year. It's a fact that passion makes one blind, especially those who have weak personality. We have free will to make our choices, but we'll be eternal slaves of its consequences. I don't know if you realize the dimension of the problem that you're bringing on your parents. I just ask you to stop for a while, make yourself vulnerable, and think about it. Otherwise, you'll spend the rest of your life carrying the cross of regret. In this crazy world we live, our family is our only safe haven, especially our parents, and you should thank God for having such amazing parents. What the heck? I really don't know what to do with this. Should I tell him to back off? Should I block him? I had decided to forget that whole situation and make 2023 better than 2022, but this message was a trigger to me. I don't understand what his intention was by sending me this, and why he thought he knows my parents better than me. Just tell him your parents aren't safe haven for you, and to please stay out of the issues, and that you judge people on their behavior and treatment of others, not by looks. Your dad is the issue here, not you, not your girlfriend. If all it takes for him not to like someone is a tattoo, then he needs to go see medical professionals, because that's not normal. I have 3 siblings, 2 brothers and a sister. My mom obviously had me and my closer in age siblings young, but my youngest brother came much later. Different marriages, both divorced. I'm not denying that my mother did the best she could with 3 kids so young and on her own. My well-off grandparents helped a lot. My mom would come back for me when I was bullied, and moved me schools when needed. She would even pick me up from PE class to have lunch every week because I had a disability and couldn't participate. That being said, though, for 99% of my childhood, I had undiagnosed autism, and I struggled greatly. My brother was also undiagnosed at the time. My mom said she just didn't notice because my brother was a tornado, and I was a little whirlwind. I wasn't coping, and my mom couldn't deal with me. I shared a room with my sister, and she was incredibly toxic. So Mom shipped me off to live with my grandparents for ages 7 to 11. I would spend nights with my grandparents, and my mom would pick me up from school until they finished work to get me. As I got into my teens, my mother and stepdad became increasingly emotionally abusive, even when I was diagnosed. Today, my mom joked that she only liked my youngest brother, and not my older siblings and I. In response, I told her this is hurtful, as she does many things for my brother that she never did for us, and absolutely treats him different. She went nuts and told me she won't apologize for anything, that she raised me young and did her best, which I agree with, but after she kept lecturing me, I gave her a list of things she should apologize for, such as fat-shaming me when I gained weight due to my autism meds, and forcing me into a 500-calorie-a-day diet, when she called me fat on my 21st birthday, and called me selfish for having my boyfriend attend because it should just be family, and it's her birthday too. She also told me I got fat and lazy while away at uni, and should drag me home straight away. When she didn't bother attending my uni graduation, even though she was already in the city and at the airport, needed to catch a connecting flight, it was an inconvenience to get there. When I got into my master's program, she called me a professional student and a loser, but is so proud now that I've graduated. When I had a meltdown at about 18, she smashed my new smartphone as punishment, and when she shipped me off because she couldn't be bothered with me. With all this said, she called me a spoiled, manipulative C-word, and said she's cutting me out forever. My grandmother says I'm in the wrong. Wow! Forget her and your grandmother. Shows where she got her attitude from. Dearest Mommy, cut them off too. Who needs them? She gave you hell. You don't need her. When she comes crying one day, just laugh at her. Story 5. I am currently living in the Netherlands for about 6 years now. I went no contact a couple of times with my biological father. This was because we didn't talk much. He also contributed to the abuse and neglect. He remarried, and basically we did not have any contact after that. My parents, ex-mom and stepdad, are having a divorce, so I reached out to him and asked him how he's doing, and to tell him that my ex-mom and stepdad are having a divorce. One of the main reasons of the divorce is because I told my stepdad that my ex-mom beat me up a lot. She abandoned me when I was still at the Philippines, and this is why I have CPTSD and take antidepressants and other meds. My ex-mom heard about this and told him that it's traditional at the Philippines to beat your child, and it's discipline. I call her my ex-mom now because she told me I am not her daughter anymore, and I should just off myself. So I told my biological dad about this. He did not say much, but keeps asking me personal things like, how are your kidneys? Are they damaged? This is because of meds. He would ask this multiple times. Also questions like, maybe you should come back to the Philippines and come live with us, his new wife and him. Do you have friends there? Where do you work? What is your salary? When are you coming back to the Philippines? And just recently asked me if I would go to other countries for my work, and if I'm a manager now. I don't know why, but every time he asks personal stuff, I get really irritated. I just either try to ignore his questions and avoid these topics, or just ignore his messages. Why do I feel like this? I don't think he deserves to be treated like this. I asked my boyfriend and he told me that it's understandable why I react like this, because my family issues are still ongoing, and that can be a lot. But I don't know. Am I the idiot? Is my biological father entitled after all our history? Update. First of all, thank you for the comments. So I asked him if he is doing okay. I also asked this before. He said he is, so I asked him how his health is. He also said that is doing great. So I think I'm the idiot here. Maybe he was just concerned because he did not understand why I take lithium. Also, he did contribute to the abuse. He also asked me to send him money a couple times. Life in the Philippines is so hard, maybe he just needs my help, not my kidneys. It is Filipino culture to be hard and not talk about your feelings with your parents. If you go to a psychiatrist, they would directly tell you, you are crazy, and to be just okay with whatever you're feeling and don't bother anyone with it. So maybe this is why he keeps asking me all these questions. Maybe he just realized this stuff is important too. I must say, I don't know a lot about my parents. When I came here to the Netherlands, I noticed that people here are very open-minded, and I love that about here. In my opinion, you are irritated because he has never shown this level of interest in your life up till now, which leads to guessing why. Does he have alternative motives? My advice is to call him on speaker with your boyfriend listening, and straight out ask him why he's interested in your life now. Well guys, that's all for today. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story's about a kid who finds a bike in OP's backyard. His mom goes really crazy when OP takes it back. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you next time on Dr. Monkey.